You can see from those last several reports, the situation in many of our tertiary institutions is still fairly difficult this week. In Durban, there was a story about the University of KwaZulu-Natal and students there throwing a burning mattress out of their residence. 2 weeks ago, at the Durban University of Technology, one student died during a protest in a scuffle with security guards. At Wits University, students refused to leave one area in protest against conditions there. In the middle of all of this, last year stepped Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. She was appointed the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Town. Since then, she's been speaking to students and trying to look at some of these problems, but she also has a particular interest in maths education. I'm pleased to tell you that she joins me now. Professor Phakeng, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I'd like to start, through all of these packages we haven't seen, and all of these reports, we haven't seen the name University of Cape Town. How would you judge the mood on your campus at the moment? What is happening there as students get ready to start their academic year?
Critical but stable, I would say. We continue with the academic project. We've had students presenting their demands. We are attending to them as they come. We're having long meetings with student leadership. We had one on Friday. We had another one, I think, on Tuesday or Monday last week. So we're taking it one day at a time, and we're crossing out some of the issues that they put on the table as we attend to them. And that's useful. We've taken the approach that we've got to engage students, and that's what we're doing, and we think we're going towards the right direction. One thing I've seen, I haven't seen other Vice-Chancellors doing this, they might have, but I've been following your Twitter accounts. You've actually been going into residences and basically meeting whoever's there. What are students telling you? Well, I've been going to residences, particularly at Tier 1 residences, where our first years are located. It's basically to welcome the first year students, to make them feel that this is their home, for them to know that the Vice-Chancellor is accessible and they can reach her, they can talk to her, and I don't make an appointment. I just come into any residence as and when I feel like it. Because if you plan, then it's all prepared and flowers and everything for you. And also going into the dining hall, to sit with them, to eat what they're eating, see what their feelings are about the food. And in some of the residences, of course, there's also older students, and that's been useful. Look, the first 2 weeks of varsity, orientation week, is always the best time at university. Everyone is excited to be there. The senior students are excited to tell the new students about how amazing their university is. And so students are settling in. So it's been good to see them then, and good to see them as the academic project starts. Okay, one of the big issues this year at many of the tertiary institutions seems to be around student accommodation, and a demand from students that the tertiary institution, a university or whatever it is, give them a place to live. I remember very clearly the Higher Education Minister, Naledi Pandor, saying on SABC News just before the State of the Nation address, as it happens, that a place at a university doesn't guarantee you an accommodation place. I imagine it would be almost impossible for you to provide a place for every student who gets into UCT. It is impossible, but we prioritize first-year students. We also prioritize students who come from outside Cape Town, because we know that those students need accommodation more than others. We've learned our lesson in 2016 during the Sharpeville protest. So we've gotten into the practice of making sure that we have more beds than needed before the year starts. So we'd rather, at the end of registration period, we've got 100 beds unoccupied than less. So that's what we've done. And last year and this year we've managed so far not so badly. But we also understand, if students who come from working class backgrounds, even when they come from Cape Town, they can't study from home. If they come from Gugulethu to Khayelitsha, they have to find place on campus. And those are the students we prioritize, because they also can't find private accommodation. It's much more expensive for them. So we've managed well, but we understand this is a huge problem. It's not possible for any university in South Africa to have beds for each and every student who registers.
There is a situation in South Africa where really you have pressure from people who know that a tertiary degree is their ticket out of extreme poverty and into middle class a life for them and their family, their siblings and their children and possibly even their parents to a large extent. So the pressure is great. On the other side, you have the resources, you have certain promises that can be made, maybe they help, maybe they don't. In a way, as an administrator of a university like the University of Cape Town, you get squashed in the middle, don't you? Don't you feel a bit squashed?
You do. You feel squashed. I mean, and it's also, I mean, it's not just the demands. I mean, there's also parents. I mean, it's interesting when you meet with different parents. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I met with one parent who said, why do you charge me 25,000 rands for my daughter who's doing a master's degree in opera? I'm paying more than 100,000 rands for my son who's at a private school, and they haven't even finished high school. And this dad said, charge me more. And I said to him, but you are speaking for yourself. There are many others who are in the same class with your daughter who, for them, 25,000 rands for a master's degree in opera is hugely expensive. They can't afford it. And so we started talking about what model can you have so that parents who can pay more and want to pay more, despite what we charge, can have an opportunity to do so. And since then, I've been thinking about that. And I mean, it's a conversation that we need to have as a university about how do we do this? Because we have a diversity of parents, some of who are willing to pay more, some of who cannot pay what's required, and some of who depend on government support to pay for the fees. And as a Vice-Chancellor, we've got to manage all of them and make sure that all of them feel that this is a suitable home for their children to learn and achieve their dreams.
And in the middle of it all, you don't want to irritate the alumni because they give you money as well.
Of course, of course.
And they have strong views on certain things.
They do have strong views. And I mean, you know, Stephen, one of the big things that we don't talk about in this country is that we live in a country where parents are very willing to pay very high fees for basic education. I mean, if you look at our top private schools, are highly sought after, they're full. Parents queue up for those, and they charge more than universities, over 120,000 rands in some of those schools, right? But those same parents, when their children pass high school and they go to university, find it difficult to pay fees that are less than that. Okay, so there's a certain mindset that's happening here, an idea that you pay for basic education so that your child performs well. If they perform well, it's no longer your responsibility because they've proven themselves. Somebody else must take over. It's a different way, and I think it requires, in my view, a national conversation. What is it telling us about our education and what parents are willing to invest in, and why is it that basic education is regarded as priority? Because you never hear any parent complaining that any private school is too expensive and fees must be free, but lower fees at universities are regarded as a problem. You know, and I'm not saying there's no need for support for university study, financial support. There is. But there's this inconsistency that private basic education goes up and university education fees must go down. It's not consistent. It's for the same student population.
Professor, if we can, I'd like to talk about your journey a little bit, your personal journey I'm talking about. I mean, for you, it seems that maths, particularly in maths education, is the thing that gets your clock ticking. Why is that? What is it about? I mean, you were at university, I think you graduated in 1987 or thereabouts, if I'm not giving away too many secrets. I mean, already you knew that maths was going to be the thing.
Well, I mean, frankly speaking, maths changed my life. And people say, why did I choose mathematics? Was I smart? And I always say, and this is the truth, it's because I was bad at anything else. Maths was a hiding place. It was the only subject that I could make sense of, that I could understand, and I didn't have to memorize for much at high school. As long as I got the big idea and I got how it connected with the other ideas, you could give me a different problem and I would be able to maneuver. And if I'm not able to solve the problem, I would know that I got it wrong. It's almost like you submit your test script and you know that was tough. I don't think that solution is right because it doesn't look right. And the ones that are right, you knew that I know that one I got. I could never have that feeling with history because it required a lot of writing, remembering dates. You couldn't just concoct dates or find them other way. And so it was a hiding place. And I think the big problem that we have in mathematics at the moment, my view is that it starts with advocacy. Our advocacy for mathematics in this country is not good enough. It's almost okay to say you were bad at maths. And if you say maths wasn't the subject that you were bad at, people look at you as if there's something wrong with you. And so it seems as if people have pride in saying they were not good at maths, and we should celebrate that. And I think nobody tells about what other subjects they were not good at, but they feel comfortable telling us they were not good at maths.
And yet the people who are good at maths, who by definition are good with money, are the people who rule the world. I mean, they're the people who run the banks. I mean, you'd think it would go the other way. I mean, I do want to ask you about, so it's the 1980s, late 1980s perhaps. Very few, I would say, from the information I have of the time, very few black women were studying maths.
True.
At academic level.
True.
What was that like? I mean, were you the only person who looked like you in your class?
At first year, I wasn't. At first year, we were many. And I think, we did a 4-year degree. At third year, and it was a pure maths major, third year, there were 2 of us girls. And it was in a black university, University of Bophuthatswana, and there were 9 boys. So there were 2 of us. That, you know, and at that time, when you do third year, you sort of become visible who's doing maths. I didn't know that maths was special until you do third year. It's like everyone knows you're the only one who's left in maths. So the 2 of us, and when we went to fourth year, I was the only one who went to fourth year with the boys. So there were 10 of us, and me and the 9 boys. So that was sort of a regular picture, because we knew even the previous year who are the women who were in the maths class. And I used to study with the boys, that's for sure. People won't believe it, but I was very much tomboyish. I studied with them. I asked them questions. Many of them didn't continue with maths. They continued with physics. My close friends continued with physics, and they've got PhDs in physics. And I'm the one who continued with maths education.
It's interesting because, I mean, there can't have been, I mean, you know, if you look at professorships around the country, academia, there's certain faculties that, generally speaking, men and women are close to being equally represented.
Yeah.
I doubt that's the picture for maths now.
No, it's not the picture. The number of women, you know, we don't even go to black women. The number of women in any mathematics department in this country is much lower than the number of men. And so the picture is changing slowly. I mean, the undergraduate classes, you find more women, but as you go higher, then the number of women go down. So we still have a lot of work to do with science and mathematics, girls going to science and mathematics. There's a huge work to be done out there, not only for black women, but for all women, just women in general.
I mean, the Americans use the phrase STEM, the particular subjects. Do you think it is easier for women in South Africa now? And I mean, I think we should say specifically black women in a way. You know, one of the most important figures that we have is how many black women are doing maths and physics at matric or at university level, for example. Do you think it is easier now? Do you think there's still that sort of pressure? Do you think, you know, a father maybe asks you why you're doing that sort of thing still going on?
I think it's easier only in terms of the opportunity. There's more opportunities for women, there's more funding, but the stereotype hasn't changed. I mean, just 2 days ago, one girl on Twitter, black girl, who's doing a master's in mathematics, wrote and said, and tagged me, and she said, you know, thank you for being there. I feel strengthened that there's someone like you, because my lecturer, when I was at undergrad, asked me, you know, why am I into maths? Because girls don't do this. So you still get, you know, situations such as those. And of course, when you look at women in leadership in STEM, there aren't many. I mean, at UCT, we have a woman dean of engineering in this country, the only one. The only woman dean of engineering in the whole country and in the history of engineering in the country and in the university. It's not something that's spoken about, but there aren't women and there aren't many women engineering professors, let alone dean. You know, how many departments of science or of mathematics are led by women? There aren't many. There's been one here and there, but you count them. So even though there's an opportunity, there isn't enough there isn't enough mentorship, there isn't enough encouragement for women to go that route, and in some cases, not enough role modeling. Of women, because there are so few of us. They have to look hard to find someone they can identify with, and perhaps who can mentor them to reach their dreams.
I mean, if I were in your position, I think I would feel the pressure of that quite strongly.
Yeah.
Like the pressure of being a role model. And I would think to myself also that there might well be other people who want to trip you up.
I think the pressure is there. The pressure is there not because of mathematics. I mean, I think the pressure is there for every black professional, in my view. The pressure to be successful, because it's not just what you're doing, it's not just about you, it's about many other people who are looking for your success to tell them that they can achieve it too. But also others who, the pressure to prove that we as a people actually can succeed in this thing. That's enough pressure, let alone who's watching and who you are motivating or inspiring. When you walk into a position as a black person, and as a black woman is worse, there's almost like, how did you get there? Another affirmative action appointee, now prove that you can do this. Every step of the way, it's almost like you have to prove it. Huge pressure. And by the way, it's not just white people who want you to prove. There are many black people who doubt you.
Black men?
Who you, of course, this is the world, unfortunately. You know, as a woman, there are many men who don't believe that I'm legit, that you can make it. So the pressure to deliver excellence, to be consistent, to do the work is always there. And of course, if you're in a leadership position, there's always people looking to trip you. There's always people who are saying she's not going to last, and you always have to go on. And of course, it's not blanket. I mean, this weekend I was talking to Professor Adam Habib. I'm a new Vice-Chancellor. And there's been talk about how long I will last, and I must resign. There must be all sorts of stumbling blocks. And I was talking to him, and he reminded me, and he said, "Khethi, you remember when I took over at Wits? There were many people who said I will not last. There were many people who gave me time, and look where I am now. I'm still here. So you will make it. Just keep going." And here's a man who encourages me to do that. All right, but so you get encouragement for people who've gone through that journey. There are reasons why some people felt he wasn't going to make it, and there are reasons why people think I'm not going to make it. But it's important to get that affirming voice, to get another Vice-Chancellor who says, you can do this. Just focus on what needs to be done. You have everything that you need to succeed.
I'd like to talk a little bit about maths education, because I think it's one of the most important things this country faces, is making sure that we do better, our children do better at maths than they do now. You talk about the idea that, it's acceptable to be bad at maths. Where do we start in changing that? I mean, do we need to change the curriculum? Do we need to change the way we teach we educate our teachers to teach maths? I mean, I went to, one of those schools in the 1980s, and even then, the teachers weren't great. If you go to the United States or Australia or Britain or wherever you like, you'll find the same argument. We don't have enough good maths teachers. You'll find children there, I think, saying the same as here, I'm bad at maths and that's fine. I mean, there seems to be something that goes on with human beings and maths that makes educating children in maths difficult, but not universally perhaps.
Well, I mean, I think first is about the nature of mathematics. Mathematics is a hierarchical subject. It's connected. If you miss grade 3 maths, grade 6 maths is going to be a nightmare, and the nightmare is going to continue. So you can't take anything for granted. You've got to get your understanding of number in place before you get to fractions, before you get to algebra. So that connectedness of mathematics is key. And unfortunately, some teachers don't get it. And some learners don't get it. They think, I'll catch up at grade 5, but you don't do that with maths. Secondly, you said, where do we start? I think we start firstly by saying, I always say to people, if you've got nothing good to say about mathematics, just don't say anything. We won't ask. Just like we don't ask you how you were in geography. Just don't say anything, because then you're not passing these messages that maths is difficult. One of my advantages is that I grew up in an environment that I didn't know that maths was difficult. I had no clue until I got to university, and I was surprised when I did that year that people thought it was special. My parents never said anything. They always talked about my brother as the smartest, and he never did maths. You had to be excellent at everything. It wasn't you are smart because you're good at maths. You had to get the scores for everything. And so we've got to change our mindset about maths is better than others. You've got to do good at maths. Even if you do bad at other subjects, it's okay. Our children need to value excellence, and we've got to drive a message of excellence so that everyone thrives for excellence in whatever they do, and not create a situation as if maths, even though we know its importance, we shouldn't make it create a hierarchy of subjects. So I think that's key. I don't think we change the curriculum, but I do think we have to change how we educate our teachers. At the moment, Stephen, our educators, no one knows exactly when a teacher completes at university, what is it that as a minimum we can expect across universities. Curricula are decided differently by different universities, and we have been trying to work on what are the minimum standards that we can expect. What's the minimum that we can expect from any teacher? It doesn't matter any university they come from, who's teaching maths, we can say we know for sure this is the minimum that they're able to do, this is the minimum they know. Maybe some universities do more, but this is the minimum. We don't have that clarity. So universities treat the pre-service education of teachers differently, and I think that's a weakness in our system.
Professor, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you missed the beginning of that, UCT Vice-Chancellor Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng with us. You can go to YouTube, you'll be able to watch it again. Professor, thank you. Stay with us.